Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Art and Recap. I'm your artist Faye, and today we are reading chapter 167 till 171 of Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 167 is called Holy Artifact. So, in this chapter, Klein is supposed to swear upon the bone sword of the goddess that he will not spill the beans to anyone about the acting method. And Sesimir is like, yes, that's correct. And now just put your hands on this weird ass sword that I pulled out of the suitcase that I've been carrying around and swear upon the goddess that you are not going to tell anyone about the secrets of the Nighthawks. And Klein's like, okay, dude, let's do it like that. And then when he swore that he is going to keep his mouth shut, it says here that he had like this feeling that a connection has been created between him and the goddess, basically. A being from a faraway place is what he described it as, but it's obviously about the goddess, right? So I was thinking, hey, if the goddess had a connection with Klein now, does that mean that she figured out that Klein was the person who was doing the ritual in her church, like the sun emblem ritual? Because I have a feeling this is mostly a theory, right? I have this theory that the goddess actually knew that something was going on in her church, right? Because it's her house. Why shouldn't she know what's going on there, right? So, but she just didn't know it was Klein. But now that Klein is connected to her, maybe she knows, hey, it's that mofo that did something in my church. Maybe. I don't know. I thought it was a funny thought. Anyway, after Klein was sworn in, Crested then starts explaining more about the acting method and digestion and yada 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 about everything to Klein and how, there's this seer acting method thing, whatever, that he shouldn't lose himself, this and that. And then he tells Klein, hey, tell your comrades, because you told them about the acting method, tell your comrades to come here one by one. I need them to swear in that they're not gonna spill the bean cider. And Klein's like, oh, okay then. So he goes out, and then when he came back, Crestet's like, hey, I'm just here to tell you that congratulations, you are now going to become a Sequence 8 Beyonder. Congrats! Clap, clap! I know this is like a super fast summary of chapter 176, but it's because there's not a lot to discuss about, to be honest. Chapter 168 is called Clown Potion. Here, Klein is very, very relieved and also a little bit confused at how easy he passed the test. And he's like, I assumed that I would actually be, examined more thoroughly, that he will look at my acquaintances, friends, families, and, my bank account. He was thinking that they will really, really do harsh research on him. But turns out it was just, very easy. And he was like, but then again, if I actually went through with like the digesting the potions in like 3 years instead of couple months, Captain Dunes was the one that will examine him and not a freaking deacon. So yeah. Preston then gave him advice not to fall into temptation, otherwise he might lose control because the evil gods and dark entities will start whispering in his ears and tempting him for more power, whatever he wants, right? Kind of like what happened with old Neil. And he's like, you need to also remember that you are only acting. That's not really you, babes. You're not really a clown, Klein Moretti. And Klein's like, oh, that's actually exactly what the Sun gave as an advice to the Tarot Club members, right? In short, Crested told him to take care of his mental health before giving him the ingredients for the clown potion. And while I was reading the ingredients and also how Klein put everything together, there was this one line that explained that one of the ingredients is a palm-sized gray goat horn. And my brain was like, palm-sized gay goat horn, and I was like, wait, it needs to be a gay goat. I'm sorry, my mind was like, wait, what is that? And then I had to go back and reread it. It was like, oh, it's a gray goat horn, not a gay goat horn. Moving on, Klein actually put everything together himself, and Crested was just looking on the side, trying to make sure he doesn't explode the whole building or something. because he's acting like a crazy chemist. He actually said that it reminded him on when he was back on Earth and doing chemistry at school. So yeah, he was doing that, and once the potion was done, also when he was doing the potion, there's like clown laughter echoing and being, creepy and stuff like that. Anyway, while he was when he finished the potion, he actually, of course, used his pendulum to divine if it's safe to consume or not. And the answer was actually no, the potion is harmful. And because the pendulum was just swinging really slowly, he's like, oh, okay, so it's not that extremely harmful. It's harmful because, again, it's a beyonder potion. It's bound to be harmful to oneself because, again, the fact that you can lose control and turn into a monster is harmful, right? So that's the reasoning that he made in his brain. Yeah. So when Crested saw him do that, he's like, you really are a professional seer. Klein drinks the really colorful potion and almost vomits because it was so bitter. It sucks. And you guys know Klein has a sweet tooth, so this is probably really like hell for him. He can feel the potion taking effect and started hearing Hornas's Legria whispering in his ears. And he's like, oh, it's been a while since I heard that. Chapter 169, New Abilities. Let us congratulate Klein Moretti for becoming a clown. Yay! Crested Sesimir asks Klein to move around to see what he can do now as a clown. And Klein's like, oh, okay then. And he does a frontal jab and he lost his gravity and stumbled forward. But before he can be like, oh, this is embarrassing, it's going to be just like Leonard's story when he fell down the stairs, he actually was able to control the muscles in his body and balance himself out. Like his core control, and he got like massive increase in coordinations and stuff like that. And he's like, damn, I can act in a circus now. Like my balance is top notch. And you know what, guys? I can totally understand why clown is a combat combat level, because I went to the circus a couple weeks ago, I think. Yeah, weeks or month. Wait, yeah, no, it was only a couple weeks ago. So I went to the circus a couple weeks ago, and oh my god, the clowns there. First of all, low key hot, but they were fit. They weren't wearing clown makeups, by the way. That circus that I went to, but damn, they were jumping around like crazy, and some of them have absolutely no fear of heights, because there was this one lady, and her partner. They were doing like, the silk dance up in the air and stuff like that. There was no safety net for them underneath in case she fell down. And they had this one moment where the dude was like, he has her on the waist with his legs, and then he let go and she had to catch herself with her armpits on his feet. And I was like, Jesus Christ, if she missed that, she is going to break her freaking bones. She's gonna die, because they were up in the air, like really high up. And I was like, crazy. Clowns, circus people. I know now why they are called crazy, because that is fucking dangerous. Yeah. But it was super impressive, not gonna lie. I was very much impressed by all the jumping around, and the coordination, the hand-eye coordination, especially. Like they were throwing around this Diabolo spinning top things at each other. I was like, damn, okay. What if that actually gets through the audience? That would be a lawsuit. Preston then asked Klein if he heard any sounds, and Klein's like, well, I did hear Hornassus being whispered in my ear, and he deliberately did not tell Cesir that he also heard Flegria, in case Cesir is, being secretive about it. He's like, I'm not gonna tell them everything, right? And Crescent is like, yes, okay. And he skipped over that topic as if that's normal. So probably is normal. Maybe they actually already know that it's actually Hornassus Flegria that's being whispered to them. Because Klein is definitely not the only seer that's employed by them, right? But then again, I have a feeling that Flegria is only available to Klein because of his circumstances with what happened, because he, transmigrated and he touched the Antigonus family notebook, and he became a seer. So it's like being put together, all of it, right? Crescent tells him that high sequence beyonder can influence corresponding low sequence beyonders of the same sequence pathway to a certain extent. That's why he's telling Klein not to fall into temptation, because there's like demigods and whatever people that might be whispering in his ears and manipulating him. Klein tells him that he's not going to be corrupted, and also wonders if this is the reason why the church only provides the pathways for sleepless and the corpse collector pathways, and they keep the other pathways a secret. And the Evernight Goddess, she corresponds with the sleepless, right? So they already have the full sleepless pathway, but the reason they also have the full corpse collector pathway is because death, which was the corresponding pathway for corpse collector, is, well, dead. Is gone, and that is why the Evernight Goddess also has it. And as for why the church still offers the mystery prior and the seer, it's because those two pathways are actually support type pathways. So yeah, that's why they allow people to have the beginning pathways of the mystery prior and the seer, because again, it's not too dangerous, at least not yet, right? So then Crescent says Mira starts packing up, and before he leaves, Klein actually asks him that, hey, do I actually have to go to the circus if I have to act like a clown? And Crescent has to stop his laughter, and it's like, no. According to our current understanding of philosophy, you just made the mistake of formalism, is what he said. Basically, Klein is like, he acted exactly what he thought those potion names are, instead of, acting on their vibe. Let's just call it like that. Because Klein is like, oh, so does this mean that I can act as a clown in my daily life as long as I grasp its essence, its vibe? Like, he doesn't necessarily have to, act in a circus, be an actual clown. And Crescent is like, well, in theory, yeah, because if that were the case, if everybody is doing the same thing, they would definitely be watching the circus really closely in case there's like an actual person with beyond their powers there, right? And Klein's like, oh, okay, I think I understand it now. So he's like, I need to become the essence of a clown, and I need to think of the clown before, what I know from Earth. So not necessarily someone who is full of makeup with crazy hair and fashion, but a clown is someone that entertains people, is like trickster-like. Maybe he needs to have some hilarious getup, exaggerated actions and performances. It just has to be ridiculous, and it must entertain others. That's just like what he was thinking. And he's like, must I consider it from the perspective of court jesters from ancient times? And I was thinking that too, right? Like back in a couple episodes ago or something, I was thinking maybe it's better if he can look at it like in a court jester kind of way, in the trickster god kind of way, and not necessarily an actual clown kind of way. Like, kind of like Loki. Loki is a trickster god. He is technically kind of a clown, but not a clown in the modern sense, right? So before Crested leaves, Klein was like getting a prediction that he is going to use his left foot first before he steps out of the door. And he was right, and he's like, wait a second, do I have premonition now? Is that the Seer's abilities that got manifested into sequence 8? That is crazy. And also, yeah, that is kind of crazy, to be honest. It's kind of low-key OP, but he's like, well, in real combat it might not be as useful. Like, he can't abuse it in real combat as much as he wants, because again, real combat scenarios are different. Because again, he fought a clown before, like the suited clown, and that clown couldn't predict him being able to move from the spell of the sealed artifact. Guys, do you guys know how many times my Filipino accent sometimes slips through and I just have to edit it out? Anyway, clowns might not come with the ability to quickly cast spells, but they are crafty. That means that he can lie better now. Like, his body language, his expressions, he can control them so much better now. So I think he won't have to worry about Audrey as much, at least. right now when he's a level above her, right? But then again, she's going to become a psychologist, well, a telepathist afterwards, right? Because she's got the well, not really the ingredients, but she has the recipe for it, and she can easily get the ingredients anyway. So she might as well be a telepathist now, and we just don't know it because we're following Klein's POV. What he can do now, though, is turn a soft piece of paper into something sharp like a dagger. And he tested that out by, using a piece of paper and throwing it up into the ceiling of the Nighthawks building and it being embedded in there afterwards. And I was like, Klein, someone has to clean that up. Someone has to pay for the damages. Are you going to be paying for the damages that you just did on that freaking wall/ceiling? He better hope that no one notices that. Klein decided to start bringing a deck of tarot cards with him in the future so that he can use it for divination and also as weapons. And you know what? I really love the idea of using tarot cards as like weapons. Oh, do you guys know Tiki Meek from Diggerman? He also uses cards as weapons. But his is not tarot cards, but like the normal playing card games that you use for poker. Why can't I not pronounce that properly? For poker. For poker. Chapter 170 is called Copper Whistle. Klein leaves the alchemy room and goes to Captain Dune's office to tell him that, hey, he's actually alive, he survived leveling up. And Captain Dune is like, oh, you seem to be in good shape, you don't look like someone who just consumed the potion. Because apparently, if you don't fully digest the previous potion, you will look like shit. You will look and feel like shit, basically. And Klein's like, well, I guess this is the advantage of fully digesting a potion before leveling up, He feels absolutely fantastic. Let's just say it like that. So they had a quiet moment, and Klein then asked him, has his grace left? And by his grace, he actually means Crested Sesamere. And I was actually wondering here, is it actually normal to be calling a deacon his grace? Because I thought that would be something you'd call a higher ranking official of the church, like a bishop or an archbishop. And yeah, just wondering if that's like a correct term to be calling a deacon. So Dune is like, oh yeah, he already left already because again, he is a high-ranking deacon and he is a very busy man. He did take the pair of red eyeballs that remained after old Neil died. And Klein's like, huh? Why did he take those? And Captain Dunes had to explain to him that, hey, I'm not gonna lie to you and I'm not gonna lie to ourselves. A rampager is in fact a monster, and again, a rampager is a beyonder that lost control. So they are technically monsters. And monsters, they leave behind things that are rich with beyonder powers after they die, aka they drop loot. And when they drop these things, if they can't be controlled, they have to be sealed. And that is the common origins of sealed artifacts, right? And that is why the deacon brought it with him so that it can be sealed elsewhere. And Klein's like, oh, that makes sense. And then he asks him, wait, what if the item that was left behind is actually controllable? And Dune looks at him in the eyes and is like, you wouldn't want to know the answer. Dude, no, let's not talk about this. But Klein, being the smart cookie that he is, came to the right conclusion that yes, they are actually using the controllable items that were dropped by Beyonders to become ingredients. And upon realizing this, he was so disgusted that he started retching. And he was retching because it's such a terrifying theory in his head. And when I read that, hey, this is just a theory in your head, Captain Dunes hasn't even confirmed it yet, and you're already vomiting. What if it's actually not correct and you just vomited out for nothing, right? Somebody has to clean that. Who's gonna clean that? Does the Nighthawk even have a janitor? Anyway, Klein wonders if this is the reason why the church hides the acting method, and if they actually recycle a certain number of their own members for spare parts. And I was like, that is dark, dude. Captain Dunes, of course, he is also a smart cookie, and he also made the realization that Klein figured out the truth, and he's like, on the brighter side, you can think of it as our teammates watching over us in some different form, right? And then he picked up his coffee and drank and I had a feeling that he was drinking the coffee to drown the memories of him having to eat his fellow members, because I have a feeling he probably already ate a couple of people before, and he just wanted to wash that sinful taste away with coffee. According to the rules of the Nighthawk, Klein actually has a day off after consuming the potion, and Captain Dunes tells him that, hey, if you want the day off, you can take the day off, but you have to inform Gwaine, his combat teacher, of what he's planning to do, right? And Klein nodded and was like, okay, Captain, I also finished my lessons on mysticisms, especially before old Neil died. He actually already finished it, but now he's pointing it out and says that he wants to use his mornings to learn more techniques such as tracking and monitoring, right? And he wants to fulfill his duty as a Nighthawk soon, like his full duty, because before he was just, on the sidelines, basically being an intern shadowing the other Nighthawks, basically. And Dune is like, okay, you are much tougher than I thought, but if that is what you wish, then we will do that. And yeah, Klein leaves the Nighthawks and takes a carriage to visit Mr. Asik. And when Mr. Asik opens the door, he looks at Klein and is like, aren't you supposed to be at work? Why are you here? Are you jobless now? Well, he didn't say that, but he was certainly surprised to find Klein before him at around this time. And Klein's like, oh, well, I have the day off. And Mr. Asik invites him inside, and they had a small chat about Morristown. And Klein then asks Mr. Asik, hey, I have a question. A colleague of mine actually lost control and became a rampager. I wanted to know if it was actually safe to summon his spirit, or if his spirit was contaminated. And Mr. Asik was like, well, if he's become a rampager, well, if he lost control, Mr. Asik actually doesn't know what a rampager is. If he lost control, then yes, that would be certainly unsafe. And Klein was like, oh, then he was very, very lucky that he was too upset upon old Neil's death to actually try and summon his spirit once he died in the previous chapter. So yeah, and then they had a small chat about Morristown and how Klein actually did a small divination to find out who was at fault at about all the ghost shenanigans in Morristown, because we all know it's Mr. Asik, but Leonard was there and asked Klein to do it, so Klein did it anyway. So Klein was like, oh, I saw this upside down pyramid when I divined it, and apparently it's a symbol of death according to my coworker. And yeah, he's like, only descendants of death would receive such an honor. And Mr. Asik was like in a daze, and he's like, oh yeah, I have a feeling that I know what's going on here, but it's just a very familiar feeling. I don't really recall anything. It's just, vibes. So Mr. Asik then tells him that he's going to be leaving Tingen in the near future, and Klein's like, wait, why? Aren't we supposed to be partners in crime here? Me to find the manipulator behind the scenes, and you, the person who was who stole your child's skull. And Mr. Asik is like, well, the target might have noticed my attention and hasn't been doing anything recently. So I am thinking of going to Backlund to set up a trap for him, basically, and make him more chill and loose. And Klein's like, I guess. Well then, how can I contact you in a timely manner, Mr. Asik? And Mr. Asik is like, well, here's a whistle it. Something will be summoned, and that summon will become my messenger. And Klein's like, oh, this is exactly like what Miss Dolly has, the spirit. Except Mr. Asik's spirit is a little bit more large and a little bit more scary. So Klein's like, okay, so this kind of confirms that Mr. Asik is definitely Death's descendants and that he is a high-ranking corpse collector. So yeah. And then we change POVs over to Algar Wilson, because he just landed at Backlund. And when I was reading this short POV, I was like, who the hell is Algar Wilson? Because for some reason, I feel like I've never seen him with his full name in a sentence together. I was like, who the hell is Algar Wilson? And I had to go back and read the sentence again, and I was like, oh wait, Algar. Yeah. My brain was a little slow that night. Okay, I was very tired. Chapter 171 is called Promotion and Pay Raise. So Klein, after having his chat with Mr. Asik, heads home to his own house and was shocked to find someone there in his dining room. And he's like, whoa, who the hell are you? But he actually just forgot that he has a maid now. And he was actually about to take out his cane, like he wanted to beat her. But yeah, he remembered. Luckily, he didn't have his gun with him at that moment. Otherwise, he would have probably pulled out his gun, because we all know how trigger happy Klein can be at times. So Bella, the maid, was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just taking a small break. I was done with my task for the morning, and I was just waiting for the water to boil so that I could eat some bread." And she was just like really, really nervous. And Klein's like, "Okay, don't worry about it. Just chill out a little. Reading is a good habit to have. So as long as you actually do your task, finish your task in like a proper manner and on time, you can do whatever you want afterwards, right?" He's like being very generous towards her. So she's like super happy about that. And yeah, so Klein then asked her if she could make him some tea after a couple hours. He would like to have some white bread with the tea, and the tea that he asked her to use was the tea that they actually reserved for guests. It's like a high quality tea. And he's like, okay, I'm actually going to treat myself because I just finished, you know, I got a promotion, basically, is what he's trying to tell here. And he's like, I'm going to treat myself with some white bread and some fancy tea. And he also tells her that in the future, this tea is going to be his normal tea, because again, he is going to get a pay raise, and he knows that. Captain Dunes just forgot to mention it because it's Captain Dunes. Yeah. His family is technically already filthy rich because he still has the 300 pounds that Audrey sent him in the anonymous bank. So he's like thinking, hey, it's okay to treat myself, right? Also, I was wondering, this 300 pounds that he has in the bank is from anonymously by him, right? So I'm wondering if he's gonna cash in that money during this first volume, or in the second volume is the time he's going to cash it in, because he dies, right? And he takes on a new identity for the second volume. That means that he doesn't have a job, and he certainly won't be able to travel to Backland without any money. So I am going to guess that he's going to use the 300 pounds that Audrey sent him to travel over to Backland. While he was in his room, he started thinking about everything that's happened, how old Neil died and how it affected him. He's getting a lot of nightmares because of all of this. Like, this isn't the first time he saw a rampager, right? The first time was the the Punisher, the guy from the Lord of Storms, who happened to actually be old Neil's friend in the Donghua. He said in here in the novel that he didn't really, he wasn't as affected during that time because he didn't know the guy personally, right? To him, it's like seeing a murder case from the news. He's just like, huh, that's that's interesting. That's sad. That's, whatever. But here it's old Neil. He knows him personally, and that just hits him so much more. And he's getting a lot of nightmares because of that. And if it weren't for the fact that he can do some cogitation thingy, he probably wouldn't have enough sleep at all. All of these thoughts and worries made him realize that he did not want to waste his time, so he actually went over to Gawain to continue his training. And Gawain, who was, witnessing his sudden improvement in everything, because again, he fully digested the seer potion and now he's a clown, was like, whoa, what happened here? And Klein actually had an excuse prepared for him, but Gawain is like, well, if you don't want to talk about it, if it's inconvenient for you, you don't need to answer it, because again, he's been working a lot with future beyonders. Well, beyonders actually. He's been training them for a while, and he probably knows that there's something going on over there. And sometimes I actually forgot that Gawain is just a normal person. He's not a beyonder, but he is used by the Nighthawks to train their their beyonders, right? Their fighters, basically. Gawain then reminds him that taking part in actual combat isn't the same as being good at fighting. he also needs to learn, have mastery over other types of weapons like canes, whips, daggers, and triangular blades. So I'm guessing he means like a kunai. Um, so I think that would actually be interesting for Klein to have, especially the whip, because it's kind of put in together with all the whole circus act. Because the beast tamers, they have whips, and I feel like that would fit Klein a lot too. But I haven't seen any suspicious looking fan arts between him and Leonard involving a whip, so I'm guessing that that's actually not a thing. Because if that was a thing, it's going to be popping up a lot as fan arts. just telling you guys. On Sunday morning, Klein goes to work and is about to take his shift at the Chinese gate, but then Captain Dune stops him and was like, "Klein, wait a second. I am here to tell you that you got promoted. I kind of forgot yesterday. So yay, your salary is now going up from £6 to £10, his weekly salary." And Klein is like super happy with that because he was expecting to actually have like £8 per week instead of 10, and he's like, "Oh, this is a pleasant surprise, right? It's more than I imagined," is what he said. And then Klein, of course, went over to the Chinese gate to do his shift. And a couple hours later, Captain Dunes arrives and was like, "Hey, we kind of need you on a case right now." And Klein's like, "Wait, does this involve Beyonders?" And Captain Dunes like, "No, no, no, no. It's about a politician that was found dead in his house, and the police department was under pressure, and they want a mediumship ritual to help them pinpoint the murderer. That's how he's coming in, because he is the only person that is like a sport and also knows what he's doing with that." And Captain Din is like, "Well, the Holy Cathedral will send over a mystery prior to our team next week. Actually, it should have been done a long time ago, but you happened to join and chose to be a seer." So yeah, that is chapter 171. And I think this is actually a good chapter to end it on because it's like the next arc is starting, which is one of the arcs that I am most fascinated by because it's like the one with the politicians and the witch, and where a lot of shit is starting to go down. So I am very, very curious how everything is going to be put together in this arc. Anyway, just a reminder in case you guys didn't know, but I did make a reaction video last week, reacting to the game trial for the future or upcoming Lord of the Mysteries game. And yeah, that was a lot of fun to react to. So if you guys haven't watched that yet, please go check it out. It's a lot of fun. I haven't reacted to anything like that in a while, so yeah, a small treat for you and me. If you guys hear some snoring in the background, that's actually my dog. He's not usually here whenever I record, but he just really, really wanted to hang out. And yeah, that's basically it. Anyways, before I go, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps my channel out a lot. My commissions are open, and my Vision link is down in the description below. Check out my story Dreaming of Aurora if you have the time. And finally, thanks to my patrons Robert, Vanarik, and Jayvol Jevolinska for the support. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!